The world of Final Fantasy, created to be experienced. But how much does everyone know about the living world they inhabit? Our story begins with none other than the one who saved Eorzea from her certain doom. He was the most powerful and wisest Archon before the wake of calamity. He was called Louisoix Leveilleur. He is an Elezen who was born in the Travanian Hitherlands in Ishgard. When he was young, he met with a witch called Matoya, whom he quickly became rivals with. On his early years, he also founded the Circle of Knowing in Charlayan. When he heard of the appearance of the primal Ifrit, he quickly started preparing his travels to Gridania, as he had discovered during his studies that if the primals should reappear again, the sixth umbral era shall end and a new era will begin, era of despair. Before he left, although, he met up with his grandchildren and told them that he will take his leave soon. Even had you not gained admission to the stadium and made me exceedingly proud in doing so, these gifts would have been yours regardless. Here, one for each of you. When read together, these two grimoires form a single tome, provided you support one another's studies. I have no doubt that you will soon come to understand the lessons inscribed therein. The tomes Louisoix gave to his grandchildren, scant hours before his departure, were curious indeed. Crafted such that the contents of one could not be deciphered without the other. They hinted at the impish humor which stands behind the oft-times solemn visage of Charlayan's preeminent sage and scholar. Thank you, grandfather. Alphinaud accepted his grimoire with a practiced grace and dignity. Alice, meanwhile, received her gift distractedly and swiftly resumed her attempts to dissuade Louisoix from his course. Must you leave, grandfather? Is there naught I can say to make you stay? Please, my dear, we have spoken about this. When he arrived to Eorzea, he quickly started to search for an answer as how to stop the waking of the seventh umbral era. When he realized how and what the calamity was, that it was the Carlean Empire's commander of the 7th Legion, Nail One Darnus's plan to bring down the lesser moon of Talamoth as a meteorite, which would destroy whole of Eorzea, or as to put it in his words, to purify the land of all heathens. When Louisoix discovered during his search as how to stop the disaster that there were few who had the power called Echo, an ancient and unknown power that he believed were used by the 12 gods who many worship today. One such person who had that power was called Minfilia. I'm not going to go into details, as if you wish to learn a bit more about her, there is a video link in the description. These two, who became friends quickly, started their combined efforts to find answer as how to stop the disaster. Few years has passed since that day, when one day Louisoix received a letter from Minfilia, who was now acting as the antecedent of the Path of the 12. When he arrived to the Waking Sands, he explained to her that he had discovered a way to stop the descent of Talamoth, that he intends to summon the 12, but were the 12 be summoned, their presence in Eorzea would be catastrophic, as they would suck all ether from the land and turn it into a dead wasteland. Which he told that his intention were not to finish the ritual completely, but enough as to summon 1/12 of their power. just enough to stop the moon from crashing into the land. He continued that this ritual has its own risk, that channeling that much power has high risk of killing him. He continued, "If I don't return, you, Minfilia, must take up my mantle and become the leader of the Circle of Knowing." After that, he left the Waking Sands in order to start preparing for his plan. He took his followers and started marking the stones around Eorzea and told the adventurers that they should leave their prayers near the stones, although no one else knew the details of his plans, as what his intentions were to do with that much ether energy. The next part of his story, I'm going to let him explain.
The 7th Legion, oblivious to their fallen leader's dark intentions, had also begun gathering in central Eorzea. Ordered to defend the area with their lives, they fought not knowing that victory would bring them death as assuredly as defeat. And amid the ensuing carnage, the curtain began to rise upon the 7th Umbral Era. The people of Eorzea could only watch in horror as vast fragments of the falling satellite peeled away and rained down upon the land, wreaking untold devastation. At Cartano, both sides fought with a frenzy unmatched, neither giving the other any ground.
To all of my children, to whom death has discharged.
Adventurers plied their blades till their lungs burned, chanted spells till they grew hoarse. They fought without regard for their own lives, thinking only to save those of others. But it was all for naught. Overhead, the moon's skin of stone and steel disintegrated to reveal an elder primal free of his ancient prison. A great roar announced the completion of Dalamud's metamorphosis. Bahamut had awoken. The front lines dissolved as allegiances were forgotten, and both friend and foe fled as one. Enraged after eons of duress, Bahamut vented his fiery wrath upon Eorzea. And despair gripped the realm. Yet in the midst of the darkness, there was yet light, a divine radiance punctuating the gloom. manifestation of the prayers of 1,000,000 souls beseeching the 12 for one thing: salvation. And for a moment, it seemed that the gods would answer. A prison of pure light formed around the raging primal and began to bleed the ether from his being. Alas, the wrath of Bahamut could not long be contained. My plan had failed, yet I could not allow those few heroes who still fought for me to pay the price of my failure. So I summoned what was left of my strength and sent them into an ethereal rift. There they would remain, untouched by the passing of the seasons, until it was safe to return. To a realm reborn.
After he had failed to contain Bahamut, he sent the surviving adventurers to Ether Rift. He basically put the adventurers in stasis in order to allow them to survive the destruction. During his final moments of life, he was infused with so much ether that the 12 summoned him to their presence and gave him their blessings, which he used to kill the Elder Primal. After that, he dissolved into etheric energy. When the elder Seer of Gridania, Gan Esenna, walked the field where Bahamut was destroyed, she started healing the survivors. She told her men that after this event there is no difference between ally and foe, that all of them needed to be saved, although little did her men know that one of the reasons she started healing the survivors was also to recover the staff of the greatest champion known to land, the staff called Tupsimate. After her men had dispersed, the elder Seer stepped out onto the ravaged plain One last time. My work here is not yet done. It had always been there, in the corner of her mind, but she had been too absorbed in the healing of the wounded to act upon it. Until now. Tracing the tatters of her memory and the ether currents in the air, Gun Esenna scoured the battlefield. Minutes became hours. Her search yielding naught but devastation. I know it is here. Arkel Louisoix, show me the way. The words were still on her lips when she saw it. There, nestled in the lee of a blackened crag, rested the shattered remains of a staff. Tupsimati. Kane recognized the great staff at once. Even lying there in pieces, its power was plain. She could feel the ether energies which radiated from it as keenly as one might the warmth of the sun. Quite how she had known that the staff had survived the elder primal's fury, she could not say. Standing there, it almost seemed as if the Archon's benevolent hand had guided her. This thought served to lift her spirits, and she forgot her aching legs. Your death shall not be in vain, my friend. To Louisoix, great wisdom was lost to eorzea forever, at least those destined to carry on his legacy would have his most cherished relic. That at his last moment, Bahamut, on his theft, managed to grip Louisoix and bring him to the ether plane. As how the elder primal managed to do that was because Louisoix didn't manage to destroy all of Bahamut, but pieces of him managed to survive, being his colossal wing and his right hand. Later, his granddaughter discovered that he had survived, but Bahamut turned him into one of his thralls. Louisoix was working towards his new master when Alicey, Albinot's twin sister and Louisoix's granddaughter, discovered his plans. She was forced to ask the aid of adventurers in order to kill her beloved grandfather. During the battle, Louisoix turned into Phoenix, but he was ultimately defeated. On his dying breath, he managed to free his mind from the grips of Bahamut. He told his grandchildren that they have to find their own path in the world, and also gave the twins means as how to summon his incarnation, the Phoenix. Before he died, he opened a portal for the twins and the adventurers in order to end the resurrection of Bahamut once and for all. When Bahamut was finally defeated again, the twins never mentioned how he exactly died and that he teach them how to summon his primal form, in fear that the people would attempt to summon him, knowing that it goes against his wishes. At that point brings an end to his story. The greatest champion of eorzea, corrupted by Bahamut into being his servant, and finally defeated by his own grandchildren. No one knows of this event in order to keep his legacy alive until now.